Welcome to the channel and welcome to my breakdown of the Dark Angel bit from the Psychic Awakening Ritual of the Damned book, which is up for pre-order today on Saturday the 18th of January, and you can buy it from Games Workshop on Saturday the 25th of January. Now this book is broken into 3 sections. One that concerns Thousand Suns, there's about 10 pages of that. One that concerns Grey Knight players, which is about 8 pages of that. Oh, there's also the chunk at the beginning, how to play certain battles. There's the narrative at the beginning, the story arc at the beginning. But the main chunk of this book, over 50% of this book, is about Dark Angels. This is the Dark Angels Codex 2.0. If you're a Dark Angels player, you're going to want this book. And in this chunk, in this video that I'm doing, we're going to talk only about the Dark Angels section. So in the previous Psychic Awakening book, The Blood of Baal, the Blood Angels got an upgrade. And in this book, the Dark Angels get the same treatment. Dark Angels now have access to Devastator, Tactical, and the Assault Doctrine, which means they've got a lot more killy. When the Devastator Doctrine is in effect, their heavy weapons have an improved AP. When the Tactical Doctrine is in effect, Rapid Fire and Assault Weapons have an improved AP. And when the Assault Doctrine is in effect, Pistols and Close Combat Weapons have an improved AP. But the other thing that happens here is if you bring a Dark Angels army that is exclusively made up of Dark Angels, excluding unaligned units and servitors, then when the Devastator Doctrine is in effect, the range of heavy and rapid fire weapons is improved by 6 inches. And the range of pistol and flamer weapons is improved by 3 inches. So that's the big buff, that's the change, that's what Dark Angels get. Now, I know there's some Dark Angels players out there hoping that there was a buff in here that allowed them to bring Deathwing units or Raven Wing units as troops. That's not in here. The Codex, the Force Org is still the same as it is. There's 3 pages of stratagems and a number of these, and the relics and the warlord traits. There's a number of these that definitely are targeting Deathwing units and definitely targeting Ravenwing units and improving them, and we'll get to them. But the main thing that this book does is add 6 inches to your heavy and rapid fire weapons. Now, that's good because it's while the Devastator Doctrine is in effect, which means that this is going off in turn 1. As soon as you deploy, the range of your heavy weapons is up by 6. What does that mean? It means twin assault cannon Razorbacks are 30-inch range. It means Hellblasters are 36-inch range. It means that Flamer on the Invictus Warsuit is reaching out 18-inch range. You've also got a plus 3-inch range to pistols and flamers. So it means your flamers on your Flamer Aggressors are 11-inch range. Not that anyone brings Flamer Aggressors, but if you did, 11-inch range. It means if stuff is deep striking in your lines, while the Devastator Doctrine is in effect just over 9 inches away, and you've got Flamer weapons and you weren't overwatching them before, you are overwatching them now. It means multi-melters are going out to 30-inch range and half range at 15 inches for the 2d6 picking the highest. Having that extra 6-inch range, the range of an intercessor, bolt rifles, bolt of discipline kicking in, having that extra 6-inch range is right from word go, right from turn 1, is quite considerable. When you add that to an army that has the Grim Resolve ability, which is reroll hit rolls of 1, suddenly the shooty portions of the Dark Angels army get a lot more shooty. And then when you add that to the 3 new pages of stratagems that you have available to you, a shooty army gets even more shooty. They've teleported across, transported across most of the very good stratagems from the Space Marine Codex, such as Duty Eternal, which keeps dreadnoughts alive a bit longer, Transhuman Physiology, which can keep your dudes on foot alive a bit longer, Fury of the First, add 1 to hit with Terminators, either in the shooting phase or in the fight phase. Big guns never tire for 1 CP. Other things that affect the Terminators, though. You've got Deathwing Assault, guys. You've got your you drop your Deathwing Terminators in, boom, and they're shooting in the movement phase. And then they're shooting again in the shooting phase, giving them Fury of the First, so they add 1 to the hit roll when they teleport in, is brutal. So you're going to be moving in, and until the end of that phase, they're going to be hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Then you could do it again in the shooting phase. So they're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. That is going to be a very furious Fury of the First. You've also, for 1 CP, you can add 1 to the toughness characteristics of a Deathwing unit when it's chosen as the target of an attack, either in the fight phase or in the shooting phase, +1 to their toughness. With Fortress of Shields, that could be +2 to their toughness. But the best ability, the one that really stood out to me, was Combined Assault. Now this costs 2 CP, and you can teleport in a Deathwing unit from your army wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Ravenwing biker unit that is not advanced, and more than 6 inches from enemy models. So what does this mean? Well, this means that you're zipping around with your Ravenwing bikers all over the place, probably with Jink on. Oh, remember Jink? If you advance, you get a 4-up invulnerable save. Well, there's a 1 CP strat in here, which is Ravenwing units, they're not advancing, they get a 4-up invulnerable save. So you can pick a unit of bikers that moved around, and for 1 CP, give them a 4-up invuln, give them the Jink ability. But it says Ravenwing unit, you can put it on, say you've got a unit of 3 Land Speeder Typhoons, and you're going to want to get Land Speeder Typhoons. We'll just move on to that in a second. Land Speeder Typhoons are only 87 points with the missile launchers and heavy bolters. You can pick that unit and for 1 CP give them a 4-up invulnerable save. So yeah, Ravenwing Bikers. You're zipping forward with your Ravenwing Bikers, and then you're teleporting in a Deathwing unit for 2 CP with Combined Assault, and they're going to be 6 inches from your Ravenwing Biker unit and just over 6 inches away from the enemy. And then you can shoot and charge. There's an ability in this book for the Grey Knights, which allows them to teleport 3 inches away from the enemy, but they can't charge. This is, I think, the first time we've seen a stratagem which allows, apart from the one, there's an assassin one, there's an assassin ability. One of the assassins can teleport in 9 inches and then move d6 inches closer or something. Assassins can get closer than 9 inches, but this is the second stratagem that we're seeing where an ability, where a unit can teleport in within 9 inches. It was closer than 9 inches, and in this case, your Deathwing unit can teleport in up to just over 6 inches away. You've got to have some bikes nearby. Those bikes cannot have advanced, but bikes move a long way anyway. And there's a 1 CP, there's an ability in here called Full Throttle. Use this stratagem in your movement phase after moving a Ravenwing unit from your army. You can make a second unit move with the unit that phase. It says you can advance as part of that move if you want to. So for 1 CP, you can move and advance your Ravenwing unit, and then 1 CP you can move and advance them again and shred 36 inches all the way across the table if you want to. But if you're not advancing, you can move a bike unit up and then full throttle and really move them up, so long as you don't advance, and then burn your 2 CP and drop your Deathwing in just over 6 inches away from an enemy unit. That, and then shoot and charge them. I like that ability. It changes things. Yeah, it means that the bubbles that the enemy is creating to keep you back aren't as effective as they were before. It is a nice ability. Then you pop Fury of the First on your Deathwing, so add 1 to the hit roll, or you put Stand Firm on them, giving them toughness 5, or you can go outnumbered but never outmatched for 1 CP. You can add 1 to the attacks characteristics of a Deathwing unit. You've got to be fighting a target that has 10 or more models in it, though, to add 1 to your attacks. But this combination between Ravenwing and Deathwing pops up again and again and again in this book. Another one is Targeting Guidance. If you have a Ravenwing Land Speeder within 12 inches of an enemy unit, then Dark Angel's units can reroll hit rolls against that enemy. Why would you have a Ravenwing Land Speeder within 12 inches of an enemy unit? Well, why get a Storm or get a cheap Land Speeder and just zip it up the table. Maybe you've used that Land Speeder to ram an enemy vehicle, so it shuts it down from shooting, it has to fall back. Well, then you select an enemy unit within 12 inches of that Land Speeder, and suddenly your whole army is re-rolling the hit roll against that unit that you selected. Re-roll hit rolls against 1 unit, as long as you've got a Land Speeder nearby. That's pretty pokey, particularly if you want something dead. Some more of the Space Marine stratagems are in here. Hero of the Chapter. You can give out an extra Warlord trait to one of your characters. There's Adaptive Strategy, the ability to go from Assault to Tactical, Tactical to Devastated, the ability to go back through the doctrines. You've got Honored by the Rock. So if you're a Dark Angel Successor chapter, just like in the other books that we've seen, you can only you can't bring the relics of the Dark Angels. You can only bring special issue war gear. only the Dark Angels have access to their pure relics. But if you have Honored by the Rock, then for 1 CP, successor chapters of the Dark Angels can also have access to their relics as well as the special issue War Gear. We've seen these things before. Steady Advance is in here, Big Guns Never Tire is in here, Boltstorm is in here, Veteran Intercessors is in here, Rapid Fire is in here for 2 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Select 1 Dark Angels Intercessor squad from your army, and until the end of that phase, bolt rifles that models in the unit are equipped with have a type characteristic of Rapid Fire 2 instead of Rapid Fire 1. And at 36, how long is it? Just a very long range with the Devastator Doctrine in effect, and re-rolling hit rolls of 1 if you stood still it's an absolutely brutal stratagem. Particularly, see, we've seen Rapid Fire in the Space Marine book, but on Dark Angels, that's going to be nasty. So to my mind, just giving the Dark Angels the ability to fire at longer range when the Devastator Doctrine is in effect, and just giving them those doctrines makes them very powerful because of Grim Resolve. Adding on some of the stratagems that are now available to them from the main Space Marine rulebook really beefs them up, and some of these Ravenwing and Deathwing specific stratagems, I like them. There's been some real thought gone into this. Dark Angels players aren't just going to want to castle up with Azrael anymore. Dark Angels players are going to be thinking about bringing at least a biker unit or a speeder unit, or at least 1 Deathwing unit or not, because Deathwing can now do some things that other guys can't. The fact that they can get in 6 inches away from an enemy, or just over 6 inches away from an enemy, the fact that they can be tougher, and the bikes zipping around all over the place, going twice the speed as other bikes from other chapters, even White Scars players. Add on top just the basic ability, the increased range. I mean, plasma guns are now 30-inch range. Hellblaster's double tapping at 18-inch range with weapons of the Dark Age on. It's nice. You can increase Relics of Caliban. The Talon Master, for example, with his assault cannon and heavy bolter, they're now 30-inch range. But with a relic, which you can give to the Talon Master only, Ravenwing Talon Master only, add 6 inches to the range characteristics of range weapons a model with this relic is equipped with. So when the Devastator Doctrine is in effect, his assault cannon is 36-inch range, and that assault cannon is AP-2, remember, when the Devastator Doctrine is in effect. When the Devastator Doctrine is not in effect, it's still a 30-inch range twin assault cannon. Oh, and you can add 1 to the hit roll. So it increases the range, this relic, the Corvus Oculus, increases the range of a Ravenwing Talon Master by a further 6 inches, and add 1 to the hit roll. Make him your warlord, leave him at the back, he's a character. And we've got, whilst they're within 6 inches of this warlord, models in the Ravenwing units from your army do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons or for advancing and firing assault weapons. It's called Impeccable Mobility. Remember the 87 points for a Typhoon? Well, say you've got 3 Typhoons in 1 unit. They're all moving and firing their heavy weapons at increased range, at increased AP of 1, next to a Talon Master Warlord with this Warlord relic. So you can move your Talon Master around all over the place, and so long as your Typhoons are within 6 inches of them, they're moving and firing their heavy weaponry without penalty. All those, what are they called? Damn it, I've forgotten the name. There's a Dark Angel special land speeder that zips around with all the plasma on it. That thing. Basically, you can have land speeders in the backfield moving around. They've got the fly keyword. They're cheap. So if they get assaulted, they can fall back. You can give them the Jink ability for 1 CP. And so they get a 4-up and vulnerable save. They'll be re-rolling wound rolls of 1 because they're next to a Talon Master. The Talon Master won't be being shot at. And everyone, including the Talon Master's got plus 6-inch range, and the Talon Master's got plus 12-inch range, sorry. Yeah, so that's your Typhoon mobile castle in the backfield. Let's have a look at the other Deathwing and Ravenwing Warlord traits. It's if a Deathwing character model is your Warlord, you can use the Deathwing Warlord traits table. And if the Ravenwing is, you can use the Ravenwing table. So we've already talked about one of the Ravenwing Warlord traits, Impeccable Mobility. Let's talk about the other 2. Tactical flexibility. Once per battle at the start of the battle round, you can select a combat doctrine that is not currently active, and until the end of the battle round when resolving an attack made by a model within model in a friendly Ravenwing unit within 6 inches of this warlord, you can treat the chosen doctrine as being active instead of the currently active doctrine. So once per battle, at the start of the battle round, you can suddenly chuck out Devastator or a Tactical or something within 6 inches of your Ravenwing dude. And the last one is Outrider. At the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins, this warlord and one other Ravenwing unit from your army can move up to 12 inches as if it was your movement phase. You can't end up more than 9 inches away from, closer than 9 inches away from the enemy. So it's a free scout move. The 3 Deathwing warlord traits are Lay Low the Mighty. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons against character units or units with a wounds characteristic of 8 or more, so long as you're within 6 inches of your warlord, and that'll stack to the warlord as well. So it's against characters and stuff with wounds of 8 or more. Dreadnoughts, demons, and any vehicle pretty much. Well, that isn't a Dark Eldar or a Harlequin vehicle because they're a very low wound. Inexorable. When resolving an attack made against this warlord, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 3 always fails. Watched. Once per battle in your opponent's psychic phase, this warlord can attempt to resist 1 psychic power in the same manner as a psyker, taking a Deny the Witch test, even if your warlord is not within 24 inches of a model manifesting the psychic power. When taking the Deny the Witch test, do not roll the dice. It is automatically passed. So once per battle, you can deny a psychic power anywhere on the table, and it's automatically passed. But the go-to one for me is the one that I mentioned at the start, which is Ravenwing character, giving ignore, moving and firing heavy weapons to other Ravenwing units. That's potentially, I can see some mobility in that one, some use in that one, particularly as Telemasters aren't that expensive. Typhoons aren't that expensive. And having the increased range, having the increased DACA in the backfield. So you can stay still to re-roll the hit rolls of 1, but if you need to move, you can move anyway. Relics of Caliban, let's look at the other 5. We have the Reliquary of the Repentant, a Ravenwing biker model only, worsen the invulnerable saves of enemy units by 1 to a minimum of 6+ while they're within 3 inches of this guy. Standard of the Unforgiven Hunt is a Ravenwing Ancient. Add 1 to the advance and charge rolls made for friendly Ravenwing units within 6 inches. Blade of Burden is a Deathwing Master, and it's a beefed up power sword. The Pennant of Remembrance is a Deathwing Ancient model only, and when a friendly Deathwing infantry model within 6 inches of the relic loses a wound, on a 5-up the wound is not lost. So 5-up, feel no pain on your Deathwing. If you're bringing an ancient along. And then the Key of Akrabel, add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristic of a model with this relic. That's quite nice. It's just a basic, I'm going to give this guy +1 strength, +1 attack. I quite like that one. If you don't like the sound of those relics, which can be taken in addition, of course, you've got the special issue War Gear, which we've seen in the other Space Marine codex, is the other Space Marine editions. Adamantum Mantle, Artificer Armor, Mastercrafted Weapons, and Digital Weapons. We've also got the Arbiter's Gaze. When resolving an attack made by a model with this relic, ignore the negative to hit roll modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers. When firing Overwatch, the bearer successfully hits using their ballistic skill, rather than on a 6-up. Now that sounds epic. Again, you could potentially put it on a Telemaster, so he's ignoring the modifiers whenever he moves, hit roll modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers. And the overwatching at full ballistic skill is nice, but how many times are you going to get charged? Not sure. Angel's Gambit, increase the range of a model with this relic's aura abilities by 3. And then there's a special bolt, the Bolt of Judgment, which can hurt vehicles or monsters. We've seen the modified bolt weapons before. But litanies of battle are available for the chaplains, and their litanies are the Litany of Faith. If this litany is inspiring, then when a model in a friendly Dark Angels unit within 6 inches, this model would lose a wound as the result of a mortal wound. On a 5-up, that wound is not lost. So a 5-up, feel no pain to mortal wounds. Catechism of Fire, Excitation of Rage, Mantra of Strength, Recitation of Focus, Canticle of Hate. These are all the ones from the Space Marine book. And we also have Stoic Prosecution, which is a Dark Angel specific one. And if this litany is inspiring, then when a friendly Dark Angel's infantry unit that is within 6 inches of this unit and did not advance or fall back this turn is chosen to shoot with, models in that unit can shoot with ranged weapons as if they had remained stationary. So you're going to be doing this one all the time. It's a 6-inch bubble. It counts as though you're stationary, so Bolt with Discipline is always kicking in, and you'll be re-rolling hit rolls of 1 because you can shoot with ranged weapons as if your unit had remained stationary. Bringing a chaplain for your backfield castle and trying to get that 3 up to get that mantra off every single turn is going to be pretty essential for most Dark Angel lists going forward. We also have Vanguard Warlord traits and the Obscuration Warlord traits that we've seen in the Space Marine book. Did I say Obscuration Warlord traits? I meant Obscuration Discipline. The ones for the Phobos guys. We've got the Phobos Warlord traits and the Phobos Psychic powers in here as well. In fact, when you look through it, there is a fair chunk of this book which has been transcribed over from the Space Marine book, but there's certainly enough Dark Angels flavour with those relics and with those litanies and with those stratagems to make it feel like a Dark Angels book. Then finally it shows you some point changes. The point changes are the same as in chapter approved 2019. And that's it for the Dark Angels Codex 2.0. It brings them into line with the Blood Angels and with the other first founding chapters. I think it's one of the stronger codex supplements. And the reason why it's one of the stronger codex supplements is because their additional thing kicks in when the Devastator Doctrine is in effect. And the Devastator Doctrine is in effect in turn 1. Yes, the Blood Angels got a change to their core ability. Grim Resolve is still Grim Resolve here. And Blood Angels got a change to their core ability of +1 advance and +1 charge. But their bonus, which is the extra attack and AP thing, doesn't kick in until the Assault Doctrine is in effect. So you've got to go through turn 1, turn 2 to get to turn 3. Same with White Scars. You've got to get through a couple of turns to get to their ability. I think the strongest books, like Iron Hands, are the books, with the exception of Imperial Fist, not too strong. I think the strongest book, the Iron Hands book, one of the reasons why it is so strong is because it kicks in turn 1. I think the Dark Angel book is going to be a strong book because it kicks in turn 1. Just having the access to the doctrines as well, Assault, Devastator, Tactical. I mean, I play Space Marines, and just the inclusion of those AP modifiers and being able to choose as and when you pop them, as that in itself has made Space Marines very powerful, let alone all the stuff on top, all the additions on top. So this is a must-have if you're a Dark Angels player. I'll shut up now. There'll be other YouTubers going into it a lot more depth, but those are my thoughts, those are my feelings. I like this book. I've always liked the Angels of Caliban, got a soft spot for monks. They've always been wicked in their ways. They've always been secretive, but they are loyal. The Dark Angels are as loyal as the day is long. The purest Dark Angels are loyal, let's say. There have been some impure ones in the past, but isn't that the way in all the Space Marine chapters? In all the Space Marine chapters, there's been some impure ones, maybe with the exception of Space Wolves. But in the Traitor chapters back in 30k, a chunk of them were loyal. Nathaniel Garrow was loyal. Garviel Loken was loyal. Perturabo's Iron Warriors had an excessive number of loyalists, like Dantioch, probably because they were garrisoned throughout the entire galaxy, and half of them didn't even know what was going on. We had traitors in the loyalists and loyalists in the traitors, and pinning all of that down onto the Dark Angels and saying, oh, look at those Chaos guys. That's just not fair. They are the purest ones are as pure as the purest ones in any other chapter, in my humble opinion. Maybe there are some guys out there who've always been really, really nasty. The word bearers, they're pretty nasty. I can't recall a loyal word bearer. And those Night Lords as well, they're a shady bunch. But generally speaking, I'll shut up. Hope you like this review. Happy wargaming. Oh, quick edit. I must mention that in this new book, there are 18 new data sheets. The Dark Angels have access to most of the new Space Marine kits that now exist, such as the Invicta Tactical Warsuit, Eliminator Suppressors, Repulsion, Executioner, all that sort of shenanigans. Well, most of that sort of shenanigans is in here now. Okay, thank you very much. Happy wargaming.